This is Otaku no Video, episode 34, 5 centimeters per second. Alright, so both of us sat down and watched Makoto Shinkai's latest work, 5 centimeters per second, the latest in his constant, frequent series on distance and time affecting relationships. And this one is the story of a boy and a girl in modern Japan. This is kind of one of the surprising things, is that there's no science fiction element whatsoever, unlike either Voices or Place Promised. It is set somewhat in the past. It's actually, they actually try to follow the evolution of time, because it starts with them in junior high, then progresses up to them in as young adults. And it's broken up into 3 chapters, each one at basically different times in their lives, focusing mainly on the boy and seeing how things were going. As is usual with Shinkai, the animation and the artwork is rather fantastic, and I suppose we can start there. I mean, the first thing I noticed in this is how the artwork seemed as good as anything he'd done up to this point. I mean, all the setup of him in... It starts off with him like last year of grade school, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's probably, yeah.
Yeah, basically when he meets the girl, and they're together in the same school for like a year, and then I guess she moves away. Is that it, or he moves away?
I thought she moved away.
Yeah, because she calls him on the phone and tells him, and he's crushed. Because they became really good friends. And so the premise of this first chunk, for those of you who don't know, is basically that he's taking a train ride to meet her before he moves so far away that it'll take a very long time to visit. And, I mean, obviously they spent a lot of time trying to make this look really, really gorgeous. And I think which is especially important at the beginning of something to really start it off. And I think they did a great job with that to begin with, don't you think?
Oh my goodness. I have holy, very strong expletive written down as the first thing underneath 5 centimeters. It's very... I could not believe what I was seeing at first. And I watch a lot of HD anime from fan subs, and I'm watching this only in 800 by 1600 pixels on a DVD. I was completely blown away. I can't even imagine what that would look like in Blu-ray or anything else like that. And actually, did you see the one of the extras is the making of?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that, although I did watch the interview with Shinkai. Okay,
yeah, because I didn't watch all of this, but it's literally they went and they photographed real places. And I'm wondering now if he does that for for all of his films.
I think he has to. Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, but just incredible what things look like. Now, granted, movement is a little bit of an issue, but...
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his character designs and sort of the sketchiness of the character designs in this. I think it works, but I was pulled out of it a little bit by that.
How exactly do you mean by sketchy?
The outlines of them were kind of this gray as opposed to black, and like there wasn't a lot of it seems to me there wasn't a lot of detail to the characters compared to their backgrounds in a lot of cases. Like they were matched beautifully well in terms of color and such, but they felt much more flat than I normally see in these things, and that could be partly just because the backgrounds are so lush. So one of the things he mentioned, which I found kind of interesting, was that he actually didn't spend a lot of time focusing on realistic detail, as he put it, because the whole thing is basically the characters' memories of what it was, of what they went through, that they went for this almost hazy style to some of the things. You know, like he said, if you look at the photographs compared to the actual animation, the animation will have much stronger colors or more emotive colors, whatever, than what was actually real. And I think it lends sort of a hyper reality to it, in the sense that it's never just sunset. It's like the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen, which I think works very well for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the artwork all day. I mean, it's unreal. I have not seen anything as pretty as this in a very long... I'm trying to even think of, maybe the new Ava movie.
Mm-hmm.
But even there, it doesn't have the same tint to it.
Yeah, this is definitely... Well, I think this is why people are calling him the new Miyazaki. I mean, this definitely has the beauty of a Ghibli film in spades.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One thing I found kind of interesting in that early thing, in that first segment, is how, like, when the girl starts writing him letters, to me, I found the letters were quite romantic. I mean, she was coming on pretty strong to him in those letters, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. I think part of, I don't know if this is your intent, but I think the movie is less about the realization of love and more about how one goes about fulfilling it. Agreed.
And, well, like Shinkai said in the interview, that sort of the theme that he always comes back to is how distance and time affects relationships. And I think partly one of the reasons those letters are so romantic on her part is because she is, to an extent, sort of over-dramatizing her memories of him. And because they're apart, the only way she can show that affection is through the words on the paper. And so it comes off, perhaps stronger than it would if they were seeing each other every day. Yeah,
and it's the same reason that he writes messages to himself in the second story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's just, lots of interesting little details. One of the more interesting moments for me was when you see him in grade school walking in to see that there's something that's been written about her on the chalkboard and she's looking kind of embarrassed. And he gets this reaction on his face, which is a combination of sort of rage and protectiveness, and it communicates a lot in a very short amount of time. And it's one of those moments which I think presages the rest of it in the sense that I think they spend a lot of time on characters' facial expressions. There's not a huge amount of dialogue in this, and seeing what characters are have on their faces as things are going on communicates a lot, and it's very difficult. I'm impressed with how well they pulled that off.
Although I felt sort of opposite of that.
Okay, how so?
Well, one of the biggest... Well, one of the things that film people will tell you is that you show, don't tell.
Okay.
And so that's why a lot of people completely denounce voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
And almost all of story one is voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
It just... I still love it to death, but it did strike me that, there isn't as much... I think the visuals are expressive enough.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of explaining some of this stuff. And actually, that was one of the things that really hit me was how they can just position things. And I get it. I don't know if you